Well, good afternoon officially, everybody. It's 2 o'clock. This is the State Building Code Council Legislative Committee. It appears we may not have a quorum quite yet.
We do have a quorum, and I guess characterize that. So as of April 5th, I don't have all appointments from the governor's office for the council. So currently we have 3 vacant positions, and 2 of the members of this committee are included in those vacancies. So our quorum number for today is 3.
Okay, well, there we go. Then we'll start with a roll call.
Awesome. Committee Chair Tom Handy,
Here.
Council Chair Todd Bywerther,
Here.
Council Vice Chair Jay Arnold.
Here.
And then one of the ones that is vacant in the moment, the MVPE Committee Chair, Damon Doyle, his position as representing the residential and multifamily housing builders is vacant at the moment. BFRW Committee Chair, Roger Haringa. Don't see him in the room. Councilmember Chell Anderson.
Present.
And then the next one, council member Matthew Hepner, his seat is vacant. His seat representing elected city officials, and he was a East of the Cascades Crest member. His seat is vacant. And then council ex officio Representative Alex Rammel. And I'm not seeing them in the audience here today. And with that, we have a quorum.
All right, very good. The next thing on the agenda is to review and approve the agenda.
Move to approve. It's Todd.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Yes. Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is established. Next is to review the minutes from the last meeting. Entertain a motion at your leisure.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions, additions, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Item number 4 is the legislative update. I think we've all received the week 13 tracking that was on the website. Dustin, do you want to highlight anything, or anybody else for that matter?
I don't have a lot to highlight at the moment. There's not been any big movement officially. There may be a little bit of movement on the Kit Homes bill to remove a brand name from the proposed language there. Let me make sure I got my share going here. One moment. Okay, there we go. So this is the status tracker that we have posted for this meeting, but there's been no official amendment to Senate Bill 5552 for Kit Homes. Just there might be some movement there, and then
Dustin,
other than that, go ahead.
I do see the amendment is posted. It's still on the website stuck in rules, but I think Representative Dewar did drop the amendment.
Okay.
Oh, that was recent. Boy, it wasn't there just an hour ago, I don't think.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
I only checked 5 minutes ago, so.
I checked before. Yeah. Okay. So it does strike pallet shelters or other.
All right. I'm pulling that up so I can share on the screen here.
Okay.
And that's what we have there, just striking the term pallet shelters from what we got. And doesn't seem like that's going to be something that we need to weigh in on at all. Um, on another, are we done with the kit bill? We can talk a little bit more on this one, or
Yeah, I think our timing issue is still preserved as being fixed
yes.
for the most part. Yeah.
And then recently, just before this meeting, I had Senator Salomon reach out to inquire how we might feel about elevator language being added back to House Bill 1183. It's getting some movement over there in the Senate right now. And I haven't responded to his email. It came out to me just about 1 o'clock, and I am wanting to, I guess, discuss that a little bit here. But the main message I would like to convey is that the inclusion of adoption of standards by SBCC shouldn't be a part of this bill. The elevator standards are adopted by LNI. Currently, in the building code, there is a chapter 30, that addresses elevators and conveyances. This chapter lists certain standards already, and right now, without state amendment to these sections, they align with the standards adopted by the Department of Labor and Industries. And so if standards were part of what is desired for this bill, my suggestion would be to if they're directing SBCC to make some language changes in the building code for chapter 30, we can address the elevator car size for to be applicable to a single exits type building. And if they wanted to include the standards, I would ask that they direct LNI to adopt those standards and direct SBCC to correlate that adoption in the reference standards of the building code. And so I'll leave it to you guys for further discussion.
Yeah, it's I
So we're trying to remember this, either when it was included in 1183 or when it was a standalone bill. What was the driver for asking for new global ISO standards? And Dustin, we were talking a little bit about this earlier. I'm not an expert in this area. I'm trying to understand why the current ASME standard, which I believe is A17.1, right? Why that isn't inclusive already of both stretcher elevators and the ADA size elevators, if we want to call them that. And then the follow-up is, it's my understanding that the limitations to story height and so forth are only as they should be in the IBC, not in the standard, unless there's something I'm naive about there.
I would, Chell popped his hand up real quick. I'll see what he has to say.
I defer to you, Dustin, but yeah, NC 117 is just about getting a wheelchair in and out of an elevator. Chapter 30 in the building code is about getting a stretcher into an elevator at a certain height or under other conditions.
You said 117, but what is, I thought it was ANSI 17.1 was
117.1 is basically the
Well,
ADA codified so it can be enforced.
so the reference standard is ASME standard that I think Todd is asking about, and what the ISO standard, how that differs from the what's
yeah,
adopted in
and
the
I
bill.
guess who was asking to put the global ISO standard in? Is that the hang up here, not the, because if there's already a
That
pathway
was
with
in
NC.
both of these bills. That
Oh.
particular request for standards was in both bills, and it was removed. All elevator language was removed from the HB 1183, and then we had some talks with, including LNI, elevator program folks, about what would happen if they needed to adopt the ISO standards. So one, it's a large process for them to go about doing that. And they feel that the ASME standard that is on the books right now does cover the inclusion of these elevators. I am not the elevator expert as far as these standards go, but I suspect that the ISO standard would allow for these smaller elevator types greater than 4 stories, where currently, once again, I am not an expert in the standard. Here's the standards that are adopted relevant to this section here. And this is the A117.1 CSA B44 is the one I think specifically referenced by L&I for the elevators section, but I suspect the ASME limits the smaller elevators to 4 stories, and in a 6-story building, you may need 2 conveyance systems to get up to the 6th floor, where you go up a certain number of stories, hop off one elevator, hop on another one, and continue your journey up. And the ISO standard may allow all the way up to 6 stories, but I'm not sure on that one. But I believe that that is the main driving factor for inclusion of the ISO standard.
Do you know what L&I thinks about commingling of authority on this?
Well, they definitely don't want us to adopt standards, and neither do we. As far as state amendments in this section, we have an amendment to section 3002.4 for elevator cars to accommodate ambulance stretchers. The way I see it, if they wanted us to adopt some language addressing the specifics that they need, we would add another exception in here that this section doesn't apply to buildings up to 6 stories with a single stair, et cetera, to kind of characterize the type of building they're desiring us to go into. And that would be all that we would need to do, unless L&I adopts an ISO standard, and then we made another amendment in this section and chapter 35 to carry that correlation across the different authorities. And, some of the testimony we heard previously is that if the amendment for the single or the smaller elevator isn't in the building code, then L&I will never see these types of projects, because they go through the building permitting and design process locally at the local jurisdiction. And only then, once that plan is approved, do they then seek the permitting for the elevators and conveyances through L&I. I'll pause, Chell.
Yeah, so it sounds like the next step for the bill authors would be to direct L&I to adopt said standards, right? And then, I mean, our part of it is minor, as you said, so they could, in the bill, both direct L&I to do something and us to do something, and I'd be fine with that, at least for my part.
Yeah, so I happened to be in Olympia yesterday for something else, and the conversation, in my understanding, was something triggered proposing adopting the ISO standards, the global standards, instead of the ASME. I'm assuming that would mean that something in the ASME 17.1, A17.1 means you can't go to 6 stories. I don't know if that's true. I'd love if someone has the expertise to help with that, Angela, or someone else on this call can help explain that to us, and we'll do some homework. But what it was doing was then triggering, obviously, something in the operating budget for L&I, which was then causing concern, obviously, in this budget year, right? And it wasn't really about the technical merits of what we would be required to do in the building code, because in my brief research on this, I'm trying to see why we can't just go and change. There's a bigger conversation about whether or not this is acceptable or not to go to 6 stories with a smaller elevator. Setting that aside, from the process piece, it seems to me that our job would be to change 3001.3, and then I mean the section in 3001, and then is there a possibility L&I doesn't have to do anything if it's still referencing an ASME elevator? Can someone answer that question?
I think that could be the potential, that is a potential resolution on this one, is that if there's no standards included for adoption by any agency, then we can apply an exception here to allow smaller elevators up to 6 stories, and still be in accordance with ASME 17.1. But in both of the bills and conversations, it seemed like the adoption of the ISO standard was one of the hard desired components of the bill to bring in. And you know, if you have to put in two separate conveyances, surely the cost goes up. So you know, the whole point of these, I do believe, is to kind of augment the single stair work that we're doing right now to allow for units on more than the ground floor to be accessible, and not force people to walk up to these. And the stretcher carrier car costs more, and you know, and just so they're looking to bring down the cost to include an elevator in these walk-up style buildings if possible.
And sorry, I was saying 3001, and obviously it's 3002.4 here is what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, if there was no standard, yeah, we don't have to worry about 3001.3. But this, I believe, is the prime target for an amendment as a result of any legislation coming down with a direction for SBCC. And then, you know, during testimony, the elevator industry also had real concerns with the training and equipment availability. You know, currently right now, I think all the North American manufacturers are designing to ASME standards. And yes, maybe some European elevator companies can now sell these smaller units in North America, but it's I think there also is some movement in the ASME world, according to the conversations with L&I elevator program, to kind of bring some of those standards to ASME. It's just not as fast as the immediate adoption of an ISO standard. Joe?
Yeah, that's really good information. And I guess I think one of the things the code can do is change the market. And if we allow them, then somebody will figure out how to get that elevator in the state. So I definitely would be in favor of trying to get that allowed. And if in the first year nobody applies for it, the second year we might have a bunch trying to get more innovative elevators that reduce the cost of housing.
Right, but I think the fiscal note attached to this for L&I was pretty large. Um, and so I just want to stay more than 10 feet away from adopting a standard in the building code that the L&I hasn't adopted already.
For sure.
And that's assuming that an ISO standard has to be adopted. So we still have to come to that understanding. I guess my other question on this is, if this is specifically targeting single exit, now we need to confirm that that's the primary, but the context I've heard when this is being discussed is primarily on that 6 stories, 4 per floor, and we'd have to confirm that's what they mean. Where, because I've listened to local governments and so forth committee talk about this is primarily where it's optional, and they could do a 6-story single exit under the when this new code is developed and not put an elevator in, and if they choose to do it, they want to be able to do the smaller ADA sized car. So if that's the context, then why doesn't the council currently have the authority to explore this under the single exit? Now, I realize it's being proposed right now that would be optional, but do we really need the legislative mandate? Now, that would be helpful, obviously, to have a stronger target, but.
Well, we do just so happen to have a proposal for single exit tag that includes ISO standards in the proposal. So I think it's something that somebody wants to talk about within that group. But the inclusion of an ISO standard as part of that proposal shouldn't come our way until L&I adopts it as well.
Thank you.
Angela?
I'm just clarifying, I came into this elevator thing partway through, but have we clarified, so the new ISO standard that doesn't violate ANSI or ADA for accessibility requirements?
I have not reviewed the ISO
or
standard.
HUD, or, you know, any of these other things that have their own regulations, that as soon as the state says, sure, yeah, we're adopting this and we're allowing it, but now it's in violation of other things. Because I know at WABA we've had these discussions, and again, it's been a couple weeks. A lot happens in a couple weeks. I can't remember the exact what it was, but I thought that was one of the things that was kind of coming up, was by adopting the entire like ISO standard versus just we want these tiny elevators, you kind of create a whole bunch of conflicts between different regulations. So, I mean, it's just something to keep in mind as far as making sure it's completely flushed out. And that would, again, in the tag, they can do that, but it's just a word of kind of caution to make sure that you're looking at it as a whole project, not a single piece. So, just my thought.
Bill?
I guess this is maybe the question Todd had, and I don't remember if there was an answer, which is, what is the exact bit in ASME 17.1 that prohibits elevators of only ADA size serving 6-story buildings? Is there a like a line in there that's different, or that prohibits that, or is it something else?
I do not know the specific trigger that is the sticking point for bringing in ISO on this one. I would have to reach out to the L&I elevator guys who work with that standard all the time to answer that for us. And I don't believe I'm not. Is there a free access to ASME A117? I haven't checked into that one.
I don't know. I would, that's why I was asking the question, because
Yeah.
I know.
So I don't know. Sorry, Chill. I don't have an answer for you.
I keep
Yeah.
going back to the thought of, you know, if the proponent is asking you about this, that maybe there's a three-way conversation instead with maybe you or somebody from the council and L&I and them to just keep everything coordinated so that nobody's caught off guard, you know, after something happens.
Yeah, I like getting away from third-hand information being passed around and being, becoming gospel even when it might not be true. So I like that. Those direct conversations sound good.
So maybe before I respond out to Senator Solomon, I can reach out to elevator program guys and have them point out the specific sections there that might be sticking points and inform based on that. And I can invite some folks here if they'd like to attend if I can get something going. I was hoping to respond to Senator Solomon here pretty quick.
Well, even if they could be in attendance as well, because if the conversation wanders a little bit, then people can maybe answer questions.
Yeah, because I think this is happening quickly. And I think to rephrase the question, the question is, if the IBC were to change to allow the smaller cars, the ADA cars, up to 6 stories, why wouldn't ASME A17.1 apply, or why can't it? Why do we need the ISO? I haven't heard strong answer yet. I'm sure there is one, but I don't know it yet. Is it because manufacturers aren't making it because it's not in the code right now? Is it and then that's why they thought they needed the ISO standard? Or is there something that actually prevents that standard from applying to a small car 6-story?
I honestly, I'm not familiar enough with the standard to comment.
From a process standpoint, it seems to me like any changes from here are going to happen on the floor. And so if there is this handoff that we're talking about between LNI and the State Building Code Council, I think it would be helpful for both to huddle and come up with some language to propose the process pieces that you're talking about as the amendment we want.
Yeah. Yeah, just so that we stay coordinated one way or another, I think is important.
And keep in mind, they're worried about triggering new operating budget. And then L&I piece is hang up, it sounds like. And if it's not real, then that'd be good to know.
Clear as mud.
Because I do feel that we could do our part probably in the single exit. You know, now that might mean it's optional, but we can do the work in the public process there.
Does that make sense, Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, as far as our process goes, it's moving pretty quick, and I need to reach back out to Senator Solomon, ideally today. And so as far as a task for me, I need to figure out some way to figure out what the limit is, in the ASME standard, on smaller than stretcher accommodating cars, and inform on what that limit is, and hopefully get some coordination with the L&I elevator group on that one. I'll be reaching out to them to get the quick and skinny on that, so I don't have to dig in an unfamiliar document. And then reach out to, if we can have a chat. I would welcome anybody here to attend as well, to just bring some more perspective to that. And then I can draft a response out to Senator Solomon after we gather some more information. And does that sound like a fair characterization of what is needed in this situation?
I think so. What do you think, Todd?
I think so.
You're ready to say.
No, I think so too. I mean, I think we're all of this is just leading into, we're still going to obviously conduct a deep public process and get the experts in the room on the IBC part, right? And whether or not this should be done. But it started to become a little more clear to me what the hangup was in Olympia, that it was potentially budget that was preventing this from getting in right now. And I just can't get to why an ISO standard is needed.
Yeah. I think, I won't do any more third-hand suppositions on what I think might be contained in the standards, but I think I may know, but I don't actually. So I will do some research to do some fact finding.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, I have no other bills to talk about. We can continue on, or talk about another bill if any other bills that is on.
You were a little broke up there, but yeah, if anybody else has anything they want to bring forward.
I can share that in anticipation that 5552 could go through. I asked ICC. We're gonna have a kind of a touch base meeting tomorrow. I think Dustin, you might listen in on that. We're just gonna ask them what they could contribute to that process if we were to be mandated to do that. So that's on the prefabrication side. I know a lot of that just because it happens to be my area of expertise, but I think what we'd want to do is, if this goes through, we want to be able to present very quickly what external resources can contribute and in terms of the standard development, especially. And if there's any code language development out there already that we don't know about. So not trying to get ahead of it too much, but it's going to go quickly if it passes.
Yes.
And I should say, even if it doesn't pass, it doesn't mean that someone could submit language for the IRC petition window anyway.
To do the same thing.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not for me.
Roger, you got a big smile on your face. It must be fun over there.
What's that?
To say it looked like you had a big smile on your face. You must be having fun.
No,
Oh,
I'm trying to get caught up. The whole elevator thing, we had our first single exit tag meeting, and the whole elevator question is one of the biggest things I don't know enough about. So I was trying to follow along with the conversation, and the kit homes piece I have questions and or concerns about from a structural engineering perspective with foundations and seismic and all that kind of stuff. So they both are, I'm not quite sure how to proceed on either one. So
Well, I do
I got
believe that
Todd.
in my last conversation,
Todd, my question would be your comment about the IRC. Does the bill say where we're supposed to put it?
No,
No.
not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Anyone else?
no.
I mean, that seems like an obvious place, but to me, and Dustin, when is the window open for IRC comments, or when does it close? I guess is the question.
As far as IRC comments, that is still yet to be opened. I'm
Okay.
still working hard on that IRC report to get it done. It's not going to happen this next Friday though.
Roger, to your question though, if the prefabrication standards, which are ANSI MBI 1200, 1205, 1210 become relevant, and then guideline 6, ICC guideline 6, those would have to be referenced. And I do have model code language that are being proposed in the 2027 codes for both IRC and IBC. So that at the very least can be submitted in the IRC window. And if the legislation triggers the opportunity to now submit that, since we're past the window on the IBC, we could at least get that started. And those are pretty simple.
so if it's going into the IBC, they're thinking about kit condos then or something?
Well, yeah, I probably stand corrected there, because that wouldn't apply. That wouldn't be triggered by an 800 square foot kit of parts, right? So maybe I'm jumping too far there, saying that would allow us to put in the IBC this cycle. But yes, the standards can apply to any prefabricated open close wall, 2D assembly, modular assembly. But that's what they're intended to be, more of a assembly or system based approach. Kind of trying to get over that inspection challenge we have in the US of closed versus open wall prefabricated systems.
All right, anything else? All good down in the non-video land, people? All right, well, then I guess a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Second.
No seconds. What? Is that Chellet seconded? Any opposed?
Second.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, see y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.